Hi, I'm Mohammed Kehani. I'm a business professor and researcher, and today I'm going to talk about my approach to note taking for a research project. It's really more than just note taking, it's a process for how to organize your mind and go from learning about a general topic area to pinning down a specific area of contribution that you can turn into a research paper. I just note that as a business researcher, I'm basically in the social science field, and so my approach may not be relevant to people outside of social science, although with some modifications, it could work for other fields as well. My basic tools are basically a folder to store files, Google Scholar search with your browser, and the main tool for note taking, which I use, is Microsoft OneNote. Sometimes I use Evernote as well, but I increasingly prefer OneNote because it has a three-layered organization structure. All right, so you might start with a general topic area for various reasons. It may be a course that you're taking or literature you want to understand or something related to your career ambitions. The general topic area is not too hard to choose. It's usually the problem is figuring out what specific new contribution you can make in the academic literature that other people haven't said before. That's usually the hard part, crafting a research paper. And that's where the process of note taking and organizing your thoughts becomes important. So I might start with general topic area in mind. Perhaps it's platforms. And I know that in the technical literature, some people call it two-sided marketplaces. So I might start with creating a new notebook in my OneNote called Platforms. Platforms and markets, something like that. All right, so I have a new notebook here. It gives me a three-tiered organization structure, a notebook in which there are multiple sections, and each section has multiple pages. So you can see the structure here. I basically start with a section called Main, a section for notes I want to take on articles, a section for books, and sometimes if it's an empirical paper, I might have a section for data and methods, and some of the results I'm getting from my statistical analysis or other types of analysis. I might add a section for a specific, if I want to package it into a specific article submission later on, I might add a section for that. But in the beginning, I usually just start with these. And in the main section, I usually put a to-do or read folder, a page, or another page for a draft. Usually the first draft is just an outline. And I get started from there. All right, the main page we start with is here, and the main aspect we start with is keywords, just keywords that I know are relevant to this topic that I want to search. I might start searching them individually or together, but going through Google Scholar results is the first step in this kind of project. I might search for platforms and two-sided markets, and I start getting a whole bunch of literature in this area. Some I'll note that are more highly cited, and so are probably more important papers. So eventually, as I start saving the papers, first of all, I'll put them in a folder. And note that when I put them in a folder, I make sure to name the file in such a way that is more easily identifiable to me every time I want to look at it. This reduces the number of steps I have to do every time I want to investigate an article. If it has a name that's incomprehensible, every time I have to click on it to figure out what it is, that would be a lot of trouble for me. So I make sure to name all the articles this way. Another benefit it has is when I save an article, so suppose I'm saving an article by Rocher and Tirole, and I noted here that they have some of the most highly cited stuff. What I do is, in addition to saving the file itself, I put it somewhere here in my, I put the name of it, the title of it somewhere here in my notes. So I'll note that this is a paper in this literature. As I'm saving more and more papers here, I might actually start subcategorizing it and put this one, for example, under classics because it's cited so much. It's an important paper in this field. And so slowly I'll start to build a series of notes around the papers that I find. I'll note, I might come up with something like this, for example. Put some of them under reviews, some of them under cases, some under theory, some under empirical studies. And as I'm reading through these abstracts, I only read the abstracts really at this point, just to figure out where to organize them. Then I might indicate some of them as bold because reading the abstract or scanning through the structure of the paper or seeing the number of citations it has, I might realize that this is a really important paper, a really useful paper, so I have to delve into it deeper. I might just make it bold to remind myself of that, or I might use OneNote's checkbox feature to remind myself to look more deeply at this paper. These are some of the tools that OneNote allows you to do. As I'm going through and saving papers, I might realize that, you know what, it looks like the topic of platforms is a little bit outside my own field, which is entrepreneurship. But it looks like there's not that much of a literature in this platforms world that talks about entrepreneurship and innovation in platforms, because a lot of it is about matching and allocation. So I might notice that, hey, maybe that's a narrower area that I might be able to contribute something. So I might go searching more for innovation in platforms. So we go from 42,000 results to 29,000 results. So we do narrow it down a little bit. And not all of this literature is actually relevant to innovation. It might just mention the word innovation somewhere. But I do realize that there's a literature there, and it's still pretty broad. As I'm researching and I'm saving additional papers here, I might come across other things that I think are interesting. So for example, there's a literature on innovation toolkits. I might think that's particularly interesting and save a few of the papers with that keyword. In another paper, I might come, this is actually something that happened to me. In another important paper, I came across this concept of generativity, and I didn't know much about it. So I created a new section for myself, and I started researching what generativity is. It's actually a much narrower topic, although there's different uses of it in different fields. So, so for example, in computer science or biology or psychology, they use the words in different fields, in different meanings, basically. If I search for generativity in platforms, there's actually much narrower literature around that. So I might start researching that. And I actually did do a lot of that research, and I came up with a literature that I organized like this. It took me quite a while to organize some of this literature, but I found there to be a good enough amount of literature that you could build on, but not too much that everything important has already been said and you find it hard to say anything new, especially when it comes to the linkages of this literature with my own expertise in strategy and entrepreneurship. I don't see that much literature there, but there is something. So it's a good sweet spot. It's something where there's stuff you can build on, but there's still a lot of new things that can be said. So that's basically how I decided to do a specific paper on generativity in platforms. So as I start writing or working on this project, in the outline section, I might start with something like this, the basic outline of any paper in my field, typically a numerical paper. I might have ideas for a title, Generativity in Two-Sided Platforms. This is a basic idea for the initial version. As I start going into specific things that I've put in here that I want to read and take notes on, this is what my specific notes would look like. For example, there's this book by Edmund Phelps that I found that I really wanted to start taking notes on. So this is how I created a page specifically for the intro and chapter 1 of that book, started going deep into it. I took notes on which page I'm copying and pasting material from, and I made sure to indicate which parts are my own commentary. So this will really help me better differentiate what I wrote and what I thought of from what the author wrote in different parts. And this, taking notes like this really starts to get your mind flowing. You can't just write from scratch. You need to think about what others have written to really get your mind flowing. Now, this is an example of deep notes on one particular resource. But I might, for example, take, there might be a lot of papers that actually have a fewer notes for me to take away. So I might organize them into different topics. Benefits of markets designed by firms, for example. I took a couple of different resources, took some notes from them, but then just moved on to taking notes on other topics here. It wasn't too extensive, and I organized it based on topics as an example here. So this really helps to start putting together your thoughts, and as you're writing notes and commentary on other people's writing, you get more ideas for how to structure your draft. So for example, I already had an idea for how to frame this. I could start to say platform literature mostly focuses on matching, ignores innovation. This can be one of my arguments for framing the paper and why the contribution is needed. As I start taking more notes, this is sort of the way I start filling in the outline of what I want to write. So I hope this gives you some ideas for note-taking that you can take away and apply in your own work.